we have established agreements in which both sides are supposed to open up their markets, we do so, and then the other side is imposing a whole set of non-tariff barriers in place, that's a problem, and it has to be squarely confronted. So the approach that we're taking is to try to get much tougher about enforcement of existing rules, putting constant pressure on China and other countries to open up their markets in reciprocal ways. One of the challenges that we've got to address internationally is currency rates and how they match up to make sure that our goods are not artificially inflated in price and their goods are artificially deflated in price. That puts us at a huge competitive disadvantage. But what I don't want to do is for us as a country or as a party to shy away from the prospects of international competition. Because I think we've got the best workers on earth, we've got the most innovative products on earth, and if we are able to compete on an even playing field, nobody can beat us. And by the way, that will create jobs here in the United States. You know, if we just increased our exports to Asia by a percentage point, by a fraction, it would mean hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of jobs here in the United States. And it's easily doable, and that's why we are going to be putting a much bigger emphasis on export promotion over the next several years. And that includes, by the way, export promotion not just for large companies, but also for medium-sized and small companies, because one of the challenges, I was up in New Hampshire yesterday, and you saw this terrific new company that had just been started up. It's only got 13, 14 employees at this point. But it has a new manufacturing technique for the component parts in LED light bulbs. Potentially could lower the price of LED light bulbs, cut them in half. And these folks, they potentially can market not just here in the United States, but this is a technology that could end up being sent all around the world. But they don't have the money to set up their own foreign office in Beijing to navigate through the bureaucracy. They've got to have some help being over there. And so that's one of the things that we really want to focus on in this coming year, is making sure that our export-import banks, our trade offices, that we are assisting not just the big guys, although we do want to help them, but also the medium-sized and small businesses that have innovative products that could be marketed if they just got a little bit of help and a little bit of push from the United States government.
Senator Michael Bennet, Colorado.
Thanks for coming, Mr. President. It's good to see you. You talked in the State of the Union very well about a number of the challenges that we face as a country, which are serious. I mean, even before we were driven into the worst recession since the Great Depression, the last period of economic growth in this country's history was the first time middle-class family income actually fell during a period of economic growth. No net jobs created since 1998. Household wealth the same at the end of the decade as it was at the beginning, and an education system that's not working well enough for our kids. And on top of everything else, got a $1.4 trillion deficit and $12 trillion of debt. I was saying that the other day, by the way, in Colorado, and I was talking about how our kids were going to have to pay this back if we didn't make this decision that we've got to face up to. And my daughter, Caroline, who's 10, was there, and she walked out with me at the end, and she said, "Just so you know, I'm not paying that back." She has the right attitude, I think. But
just in case you're counting on it.
At the same time, this place looks broken to the American people. The ability of our ability to make these decisions is open to enormous question in the wake of the healthcare discussion in particular. I had a woman the other day in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, ask me where she could get her lobbyist in Washington, D.C. What are we going to do differently? What are you going to do differently? What do we need to do differently as Democrats and Republicans to fix this institution so that our democracy can actually withstand the test that we're facing right now?
Well, let me just make a couple observations. Having served in the Senate and now seeing it from the perspective of the White House. First of all, whenever people ask me, why isn't Washington working, I am a fierce defender of the integrity and hard work of individual members, which is, by the way, matched up by, when you look at polls, people hate Congress, but individual members, a lot of them feel, are really working hard on their behalf. So the problem here you've got is an institution that increasingly is not adapted to the demands of a hugely competitive 21st century economy. I think the Senate in particular, the challenge that I gave to Republicans, and I will continue to issue to Republicans, is if you want to govern, then you can't just say no. It can't just be about scoring points. There are multiple examples during the course of this year in which that's been the case. Look, I mentioned the filibuster record. We've had scores of pieces of legislation in which there was a filibuster, cloture had to be invoked, and then ended up passing 90 to 10 or 80 to 15. And what that indicates is a degree to which we're just trying to gum up the works instead of getting business done. That is an institutional problem. In the Senate, the filibuster only works if there is a genuine spirit of compromise and trying to solve problems as opposed to just shutting the place down. If it's just shutting the place down, then it's not going to work. That's point number one. Point number two, in terms of how we operate, we as Democrats, I do think that the more open we are, the more transparent we are, the more people know exactly how things are working, even if sometimes it takes longer to maintain that transparency, the better off we are. And I think the health care bill is a perfect example. I mean, the truth of the matter is that the process looked painful and messy, but the innumerable hearings that were held did give an opportunity for the product to get refined so that I think that the ultimate package, after potential negotiations between the House and the Senate, is better than where we started. And there was a possibility, and continues to be a possibility, to be in discussions with the American people about what exactly that bill accomplishes. On the other hand, and I take some fault for this, at the end of the process, when we were fighting through all these filibusters and trying to get it done quickly so that we could pivot and start talking about other issues that were so important to the American people, some of that transparency got lost. And I think we paid a price for it. And so it's important, I think, to constantly have our cards out on the table and welcome challenges and welcome questions. You know, if the Republicans say that they can insure every American for free, which is what was claimed the other day at no cost, I want to know. Because I told them, I said, why would I want to get a bunch of lumps on my head doing the hard thing if you've got the easy thing? But you've got to show me, you've got to prove to me that it actually works. Because I've talked to every healthcare expert out there, and it turns out if you want to reform the insurance system, if you want to make sure that people without pre-existing conditions are able to get insurance, if you want to provide coverage for people, if you want to bend the cost curve, then you need a comprehensive bill, because this is a complicated area involving 1/6 of our economy. But we should be open to that dialogue and not underestimate the power of the American people over time, despite millions of dollars of advertising to the contrary from the insurance industry and others. We should not underestimate the American people's willingness to say, okay, I got it.